There comes a moment in a person's life when the noise becomes quiet, the phone stops ringing, the people you thought would notice your pain continue with their own lives, and you are left alone with a truth you have spent years trying not to hear. Nobody is coming to save you. And strangely, that truth is not the tragedy you thought it was. It may be the beginning of your freedom, because somewhere beneath the disappointment, beneath the loneliness, beneath every unanswered message and every promise that was never kept, there is a stronger version of you waiting to stand up. You may have been waiting longer than you realize, waiting for someone to believe in you, waiting for the right opportunity, waiting for your family to understand, waiting for someone to love you enough to pull you out of the place where you've been quietly drowning. Maybe you have even called it patience. Maybe you have called it faith. But sometimes what we call patience is really fear wearing a respectable name. Sometimes we are not waiting for the right moment. We are waiting for permission to become the person we already know we must become. And I want you to think about something tonight. How many years have you spent hoping somebody else would recognize your potential before you recognized it yourself? How many mornings have you opened your eyes carrying the same problem, the same disappointment, the same financial pressure, the same emotional wound, and quietly told yourself, something will change? But what if the thing that needs to change is not your circumstances first? What if it is the person who keeps responding to those circumstances the same way? Because life has a peculiar way of teaching us what we refuse to learn voluntarily. It will remove people. It will close doors. It will delay opportunities. It will disappoint you through people you trusted. It will sometimes leave you standing in an empty room with nothing but your own thoughts. And in that silence, you may feel abandoned. But sometimes silence is not abandonment. Sometimes silence is an invitation to finally hear yourself. You have to understand this. The people you love can encourage you, but they cannot live your life for you. Someone can hold your hand, but they cannot take your steps. Someone can give you advice, but they cannot make your decisions. Someone can love you deeply and still be unable to rescue you from habits you refuse to change. And when you finally understand that, you stop begging life to become easier and start becoming stronger. There is a painful kind of loneliness that comes when you realize the person you were waiting for is not coming. Maybe it was a parent. Maybe it was a partner. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe it was the world itself. You thought someone would eventually look at you and say, I see what you're going through. Let me help you carry it. And when that moment never arrived, something inside you became quieter. You stopped asking. You stopped expecting. You started pretending you didn't need anyone. But becoming independent does not mean becoming emotionally numb. Saving yourself does not mean you stop loving people. It means you stop making your survival dependent upon their attention. It means you can appreciate someone's presence without making their absence proof that you are worthless. It means you can love someone without abandoning yourself in the process. And that is a level of emotional maturity many people never reach. There are people who spend years chasing someone who is already emotionally left. They study every message. They analyze every silence. They wonder why the warmth disappeared. They replay conversations at night, searching for the sentence that somehow ruined everything. And the mind becomes obsessed because uncertainty is painful. When you cannot control the outcome, your brain tries to control the explanation. But sometimes there is no hidden explanation. Sometimes people change. Sometimes people withdraw. Sometimes feelings fade. Sometimes someone cannot give you what you need. And sometimes the hardest answer is simply that the relationship you wanted was not the relationship that existed. You can spend another year investigating it, or you can take your heart back and begin building a life that does not require someone else's emotional availability to have meaning. This is where self-respect begins. Not when everybody chooses you, Not when everyone applauds you. Not when the person who rejected you suddenly realizes what they lost. Self-respect begins when you decide that your value cannot rise and fall according to somebody else's behavior. Their silence may hurt you. Their rejection may wound you. Their absence may break your heart for a season. But none of those things has the authority to define your worth. And there is another truth you need to hear. Nobody is coming to save you from your habits. Nobody is coming to wake up at 5 a.m. for you. Nobody is coming to study the books you keep postponing. Nobody is coming to build your discipline. Nobody is coming to make the difficult phone call. Nobody is coming to exercise your body. Nobody is coming to develop your character. And if you keep waiting for motivation, you may spend your whole life waiting. Motivation is useful, but discipline is what remains when motivation disappears. There will be mornings when you do not feel inspired. There will be nights when your dream seems foolish. There will be days when the progress is so small you cannot even see it. That is when the real work begins. Anybody can move when the heart is excited. Character is built when the heart says, "Not today," and you quietly answer, "Today especially." You see, your future is not created in one dramatic moment. It is created in ordinary moments that nobody photographs. It is created when you choose the book instead of another hour of distraction. It is created when you save money instead of spending it to impress people. It is created when you walk away from an argument instead of proving you are right. It is created when you keep your promise to yourself after nobody else is watching. And this is why your private life matters so much. The world sees the result, but it does not see the repetitions that produced it. People notice the successful person, but they rarely notice the years of uncertainty. They notice confidence, but not the nights when that confidence was rebuilt. They notice strength, but not the heartbreak that forced someone to develop it. They notice the harvest, but they rarely ask how long the person stood in the soil without evidence that anything was growing. Maybe you are in that season right now. Maybe you are working and nothing seems to be happening. Maybe you have tried and failed so many times that another attempt feels embarrassing. Maybe people around you have started asking questions you do not know how to answer. When are you going to succeed? The small things. When are things going to improve? What are you doing with your life? And every question sounds heavier because you are already asking yourself those same questions in the privacy of your own mind. But listen carefully. Failure is not always evidence that you should stop. Sometimes failure is evidence that you have finally entered the territory where growth is required. You are not supposed to know everything before you begin. You are supposed to learn by beginning. You are supposed to become wiser through mistakes. You are supposed to develop judgment through experience. Life does not hand you the finished version of yourself. You participate in creating it. The problem is that many people want a transformed life without a transformed daily routine. They want confidence without keeping promises to themselves. They want financial freedom without learning how money works. They want meaningful relationships without learning emotional responsibility. They want peace while constantly feeding their minds with comparison, resentment, fear, and distraction. You cannot build a beautiful life with destructive daily habits and then wonder why the structure keeps collapsing. At some point, you have to stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That question changes everything. It moves you from victimhood toward responsibility. Responsibility does not mean everything that happened to you was your fault. It means your response from this moment forward belongs to you. You did not choose every wound you received. You did not choose every disappointment. You did not choose every betrayal. You did not choose every door that closed. But you do choose whether those experiences become your prison or become part of your education. There is a difference between carrying pain and becoming your pain. You can say, "Yes, that hurt me, without saying, therefore I am broken forever. You can say, someone abandoned me, without saying, therefore nobody will ever love me. You can say, I failed, without saying, therefore I am a failure. Your past can explain you, but it does not have to imprison you. And perhaps the deepest form of saving yourself is learning to stop abandoning yourself. Think about how often you betray your own needs just to keep someone else comfortable. You say yes when you mean no. You stay when everything inside you is telling you to leave. You tolerate disrespect because you are afraid of being alone. You silence your opinions because you fear rejection. You chase people who give you crumbs of affection while convincing yourself that crumbs are enough. That is not love. That is fear negotiating against your own dignity. The mature heart learns something different. It learns that being alone is sometimes healthier than being constantly misunderstood. It learns that peace is more valuable than attention. It learns that emotional distance can sometimes be information rather than punishment. When somebody consistently withdraws, you do not have to destroy yourself trying to make them stay. Let them reveal themselves, and you reveal yourself to yourself. Ask yourself what you really want. Not what impresses people lies in the small things. Not what social media tells you to want. Not what your friends think is successful. What do you actually want your life to feel like when nobody is watching? What kind of person do you want to become? What values do you want your children, your friends, or the people around you to see when they look at your life? Because goals are important, but character is more important. You may want more money, and there is nothing wrong with wanting more money when you understand its proper place. But if you become wealthy and remain undisciplined, insecurity will simply become more expensive. You may want love, but if you do not learn self-respect, you may use love as an excuse to tolerate what destroys you. You may want success, but if your identity depends entirely upon achievement, every setback will feel like a personal death. Build the person before you build the possessions. Build the mind before you build the empire. Build the character before you ask life to give you more responsibility. Because when life gives you more, it magnifies what is already inside you. And this is where your loneliness can become powerful. Not the loneliness where you sit around waiting for somebody to notice you. The loneliness where you begin to know yourself. Where you walk without needing an audience. Where you work without applause. Where you learn without anyone congratulating you. Where you become comfortable enough with your own company that you stop accepting unhealthy relationships. Simply silence scares you. There is tremendous power in being able to sit alone and not feel abandoned. You begin to hear your intuition again. You begin to notice what drains you. You begin to recognize which desires are genuinely yours and which ones were implanted by comparison. You begin to realize that some people were never meant to accompany you into every chapter of your life, and you stop treating every ending as a catastrophe. Some endings are instructions. Some departures are protection. Some disappointments are redirections. Some closed doors are forcing you to build a door of your own. But do not romanticize pain. Pain is not automatically wisdom. Pain becomes wisdom when you examine it, when you learn from it, when you refuse to repeat the pattern that created it. Otherwise, pain simply becomes pain. So if someone left you, learn. If you failed, learn. If you wasted years, learn. If you trusted the wrong person, learn. If you trusted yourself too little, learn that too. Do not waste your suffering. There are people who spend 20 years talking about the same wound without ever asking what they can build with the scar. They keep telling the story because the story gives them an identity. But eventually, you have to decide whether you want to be the person who was hurt or the person who healed. Healing does not mean forgetting. It means remembering without bleeding. It means you can think about the past without allowing it to dictate your next decision. It means the memory remains, but the control disappears. And perhaps that is what emotional awakening really is. It is the moment you realize you do not have to chase every feeling. You do not have to answer every impulse. You do not have to explain yourself to everyone. You do not have to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. You do not have to prove your worth to someone who has already decided not to see it. You can become quiet. You can become disciplined. You can become patient. You can walk away and you can begin again. There is something almost sacred about beginning again when nobody believes in you, because then you discover whether you were working for applause or working because the work mattered. When nobody congratulates you, will you continue? When nobody notices your improvement, will you continue? When the numbers are small, when the money is slow, when the progress is invisible, when your friends are moving faster, when someone else appears to have everything you want, will you continue? That is the question. Not whether you can start, whether you can continue. Because anyone can make a promise on a powerful night. The real transformation comes from keeping that promise on an ordinary Tuesday when nobody cares. Your life does not need another dramatic declaration. It needs another disciplined day, then another, then another. Small choices become patterns. Patterns become habits. Habits become character. Character shapes decisions. Decisions shape circumstances. Circumstances eventually shape a life. That is why you should never underestimate the ordinary day. Your ordinary day is your life, not someday. Not when you get rich, not when you find the right person, not when everyone finally respects you. Today, this morning, this conversation, this decision, this next hour. If you want to save yourself, start there. Do not try to repair your entire life tonight. Pick up one piece. Put one thing in order. Make one difficult decision. Finish one task. Apologize if you need to. Forgive if you are ready. Walk away if you must. Open the book. Make the plan. Clean the room. Make the call. Go to sleep on time. Wake up when you said you would. It may look insignificant. It is not. You are teaching yourself that your own word means something. And once you begin trusting yourself again, something remarkable happens. You stop needing constant reassurance from other people. You stop asking, do they believe in me? Because you have evidence that you believe in yourself. Not blind confidence, earned confidence. The confidence that comes from keeping promises. The confidence that comes from surviving difficult seasons. The confidence that comes from learning what you did not know. The confidence that comes from realizing, I have been knocked down before, and I know how to stand. That kind of confidence is quiet. It does not need to announce itself. It does not need to make everybody jealous. It does not need revenge. It simply moves. And one day, the same people who once thought you were lost may look at you and wonder what happened. But you will know. Nothing happened overnight. You happened slowly. You happened every morning you got up when you wanted to stay down. You happened every time you chose discipline over comfort. You happened every time you stopped chasing what was leaving and started building what was staying. You happened every time you refused to let rejection become your identity. Lies in the small things. You happened every time you chose yourself without becoming selfish. And that is the distinction I want you to remember. Saving yourself does not mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop sacrificing your entire future to keep people from being disappointed in you. It means you can love your family and still create boundaries. You can love a person and still leave a destructive relationship. You can forgive someone and still refuse to give them access to you. You can understand someone's pain without allowing their pain to become your permanent responsibility. That is maturity. Love without self-respect becomes attachment. Ambition without character becomes emptiness. Independence without compassion becomes isolation. You need balance. You need strength with softness. You need discipline with patience. You need ambition with gratitude. You need solitude without isolation. You need love without losing yourself. And most of all, you need responsibility without self-hatred. Do not use responsibility as another weapon against yourself. If you have wasted time, acknowledge it. But do not spend another decade punishing yourself for the decade you wasted. If you made a bad decision, learn from it. Do not turn one mistake into a permanent sentence. You are allowed to become wiser. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to outgrow your old identity. You are allowed to disappoint the version of you that was built around fear. There will be people who prefer the old you because the old you was easier to control. The old you said yes. The old you explained everything. The old you chased. The old you tolerated. The old you needed approval. The new you may be quieter. The new you may have boundaries. The new you may leave when respect disappears. The new you may choose peace over proving a point. And some people will call that arrogance. Let them. Not every accusation deserves an explanation. Sometimes your greatest response is the life you build afterward. So, when nobody comes to save you, do not sit beside the door waiting. Stand up. Look around. Take inventory. What do you have? Your mind, your time, your ability to learn, your ability to work, your ability to choose, your ability to begin again. Maybe you don't have everything you want, but you have something. Start there. You do not need the entire staircase to take the first step. And please understand this. You are not behind because somebody else is ahead. Life is not a single race with one finish line. Your chapter is your chapter. Someone else's success does not subtract from your possibility. Someone else's relationship does not mean you will never experience love. Someone else's wealth does not mean your opportunity has expired. Someone else's speed does not make your progress meaningless. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to become a stranger to your own life. Look at your own road. Measure yourself against who you were. If you are more disciplined than you were 6 months ago, that matters. If you are calmer than you were last year, that matters. If you no longer chase people who do not choose you, that matters. If you are learning to control your spending, your temper, your attention, your habits, that matters. The world may not applaud these victories. Celebrate them anyway, because a life changes quietly before it changes visibly. The seed does not look like the tree. The beginning does not look like the destination. And your current circumstances may not resemble your future at all, but your future is being influenced by what you repeatedly do now. So stop waiting for a rescue story. Become the rescue story. Stop waiting for somebody to believe in you. Become somebody you can believe in. Stop waiting for the perfect opportunity. Become prepared enough to recognize the imperfect opportunity when it arrives. Stop waiting to feel fearless. Move while you are afraid. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is refusing to let fear make every decision. There will still be nights when you question yourself. There will still be mornings when you feel tired. There will still be moments when you miss people who were not good for you. There will still be days when your old habits whisper your old name. But you do not have to obey every voice that speaks inside you. You can listen and still choose differently. That is freedom. And perhaps years from now, you will look back on this difficult season with a strange kind of gratitude. Not because you enjoyed the pain, but because the pain introduced you to a strength you did not know you possessed. You will remember the season when nobody came, and you will realize that was the season when you finally came for yourself. You became the person who wiped your own tears. You became the person who made the decision. You became the person who started again. You became the person who stopped asking for permission. You became the person who learned. You became the person who endured. You became the person who built. You became the person who built. And maybe that is what life was trying to teach you all along. Not that you do not need people. You do. Human beings need connection, friendship, love, community, and encouragement. But there is a difference between needing connection and needing rescue. You can walk beside people without asking them to carry you. You can receive help without surrendering responsibility. You can accept love without making love responsible for your identity. You can build with others while still owning your own foundation. That is strength. So tonight, wherever you are, take a breath. Let the noise become quiet for a moment. Think about the thing you have been avoiding. Think about the decision you already know you need to make. Think about the habit you keep promising to change. Think about the dream you keep postponing because you are afraid of failing. And ask yourself one honest question. If nobody comes, what will I do? Do not answer with despair. Answer with action. I will begin. I will learn. I will work. I will heal. I will become disciplined. I will forgive myself. I will stop chasing what does not choose me. I will build what I can build. I will take responsibility for the next step. That is enough. You do not need to know the entire future tonight. You only need enough courage for the next step. And then tomorrow, another. Eventually, those steps become distance. Eventually, distance becomes transformation. Eventually, the person who once felt helpless looks into the mirror and recognizes someone different, not perfect, not invincible, just stronger, wiser, calmer, more awake. And that is the person you are becoming. So, if nobody is coming to save you, good. Now you know. You can stop waiting at the window. You can stop checking your phone. You can stop hoping someone else will suddenly become the answer to a life that belongs to you. Stand up. Take your life back. Take your attention back. Take your time back. Take your dignity back. Take your future back and build quietly. Let your healing be quiet. Let your discipline be quiet. Let your progress be quiet. You do not need to announce the person you are becoming. Become them. And one day, your life will speak so clearly that you will not need to explain yourself anymore. The loneliness will have taught you self-knowledge. The rejection will have taught you self-respect. The failure will have taught you persistence. The silence will have taught you discernment. The waiting will have taught you patience. And the season when nobody came to save you will have taught you the most important lesson of all. You were never as powerless as you believed. You were waiting for someone else to give you permission to become responsible for your own life. You do not need that permission anymore. Go forward, not because everything is easy. Go forward because your life is still yours, not because you know exactly what will happen. Go forward because you can learn as you walk, not because you have no fear. Go forward because fear does not get the final vote. And when the world becomes quiet again, remember this moment. Remember that somewhere inside you, there is a person who has survived every difficult day you thought would destroy you. That person is still here. That person is waiting, not for somebody else, for you. So save yourself, not with one giant act, with one decision, then another, until the life you once begged for becomes the life you patiently built. And if these words found you at a difficult moment, perhaps they were meant to. Perhaps you needed to hear that your story is not over simply because this chapter is painful. Perhaps you needed permission to stop chasing, stop waiting, stop doubting, and begin becoming. You do not need to have everything figured out. You only need to stop abandoning yourself. Keep going. Keep learning. Keep building. Keep your heart open, but keep your standards strong. Love people, but in the small things. But do not lose yourself. Dream greatly, but work patiently. And when nobody is coming, remember that you can still rise. Thank you for spending these moments here with me. If this message spoke to something you have been carrying silently, stay connected to this channel. Subscribe, not simply for another video, but for another reminder that the life you want is built one decision at a time. And when you are ready for the next journey inward, come back. Because sometimes the greatest transformation begins with the quietest sentence a person can say to themselves, I am done waiting for someone else to save me. Now I will save myself.